All right, everybody, how you doing? Today will be Day in Art podcast number 16. Today is February the 11th, 2009, and before we get started, I just want to say I greatly appreciate I have 100,000 views on my channel. Thank you. Just want to get that out of the way. But the one news story that I caught was I caught it. I guess it's close to a month now, and I kind of I bookmarked it, but I didn't get to it yet. But before we get to that, what is this? This is Today in Art. This is the podcast I'm doing on YouTube and Anchor. Then of course Anchor sends it out to various other podcasting platforms. So basically, it's my way for me as an artist myself to keep myself informed on the current art goings of the world. And you can listen into and keep yourself informed of something that you're interested in. I would assume mainly other artists probably listen to this. Who knows? We'll see. But I want to get into this. It is the McJesus sculpture. It sparks outrage among Israel's Christians. If we take the art down the next day, we'll have politicians demanding we take others down, and we'll end up only with colorful pictures of flowers. So there's a short little video here, and we can watch this. The artwork featuring a crucified Ronald McDonald has provoked violence in northern Israel. So those listen to audio only, it's essentially like, imagine the Jesus on a cross, but it's Ronald McDonald. Essentially what it is. Haifa Israel. Earlier this month, Israeli police used tear gas and stun grenades to disperse a protest by the country's Arab Christian minority. The protesters were angry at the McJesus exhibit and others on show at the museum, which they claim are insulting. There's a cross spray painted on a wall, some damage to a window, it looks like. The museum director says the art was not intended to cause offense.
The artist is a Christian. He sees the Christ and the cross as his symbol and use them to make his point. We are slaves, we have new God instead of the old God, and we pray for McDonald's and the other companies.
Tal says he understands the hurt feelings of the Christian community, but has no plans to censor the exhibition. There's a sign here saying this exhibition presents international artworks which relate to consumer culture as a religion. These works do not intend to harm the feelings of the public. We will honor a decision not to visit this exhibition hall. That last thing's a little weird. All right. Oh, yeah, this is on the NBC News website as well, if you're curious. But it says it's by the Associated Press. This came out on January 15th, like I said. But I'm just now getting to it on February 11th. So, Haifa, Israel. An art exhibit in Israel featuring a crucified Ronald McDonald has sparked protests by the country's Arab Christian minority. Hundreds of Christians calling for the removal of the sculpture entitled McJesus demonstrated at the museum in the northern city of Haifa last week. Israeli police say rioters hurled a firebomb at the museum and threw stones that wounded 3 police officers. Authorities dispersed the crowds with tear gas and stun grenades. Church representatives brought their grievances to the district court Monday, demanding it order the removal of the exhibit's most offensive items, including baby doll renditions of a bloody Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Museum director Nassim Tal said that he was shocked at the sudden uproar, especially because the exhibit intended to criticize what many view as society's cult-like worship of capitalism. has been on display for months. It also has been shown in other countries without incident. The protest appeared to have been sparked by visitors sharing photos on the exhibit of social media. It's always social media. It's always social media causing problems. Christians make up a tiny percentage of Israel's Arab minority and say they face unique challenges. We need to understand that freedom of expression is interpreted in different ways in different societies, said Wadi Ab-Nassar. I'm probably screwing these names up terribly. An advisor to the church leaders. If this work was directed against non-Christians, the world would be turned upside down. So going off of that, I'm wondering if it was, obviously not on the cross, but if it was like Muhammad being depicted doing, whatever, how that would be. I'm kind of curious, but still, we'll get to it. The McJesus artwork was sculpted by Finnish artist, I'm probably screwing up the name, Jani Leinonen. I don't know. Looking at his thing, it says he's a Finnish artist and political activist. He's known public artworks criticizing capitalism by using the imagery and icons of corporate brands. He graduated from Helsinki Academy of Fine Arts in 2002. He is 40 years old. Israeli culture minister Miri Regav, who has been accused of censorship for pushing legislation mandating national loyalty in art, also called for the removal of the disrespectful artwork. The museum has refused to remove the artwork, saying that doing so would infringe on freedom of expression. But following the protests, it hung a curtain over the entrance to the exhibit and posted a sign saying the art was not intended to offend. This is the maximum that we can do, Tal said. If we take the art down, the next day we'll have politicians demanding we take other things down, and we'll end up only with colorful pictures of flowers in the museum. Which, he's kind of got a point. You give him an inch, he'll take a mile. But that did little to placate those who want the artwork removed. A protester remained camped out in a tent at the museum on Monday with a sign reading, "Respect religions." Don't respect religions. Don't respect anything. It's my personal. Police watched closely as local Christians complained to reporters in front of street signs spray painted with crosses and windows still shattered from last week's clashes. This is very offensive, and I cannot consider this art, Haifa artist and devout Christian Amir Balin said. We will continue through peaceful rallies and candle vigils. We won't be quiet until we reach a solution. Well, the solution's already been reached, that it's going to stay up. And you can take your religious arrogance and you can shut the fuck up. The whole thing with, I'm very much for, obviously it works different in different countries, but here in America, I'm very much for freedom of speech. And Israel is a democracy, I'm pretty sure. I don't know exactly how their constitution works, if they have the same things that we have with freedom of speech, but I really detest people trying to censor people and take away the freedom of speech and all that. Especially if they're religious. Screw them. I don't give a shit. Make it worse. Make it more offensive. This is very offensive and I cannot consider this art. Well, no one's asking you, all right? Haifa artist and devout Christian Amir Balin said. He's supposedly an artist, but he can't consider that art. That's the thing. When you talk about art, there's a lot of things that can be considered art nowadays because of the the postmoderns and all this. All of these previous restrictions have been kind of released. But because something is still considered by some art doesn't mean that it's good art. It could just be fucking shit, but it still can be considered art. So Jani Leinonen, the Finnish artist behind McJesus, also asked that it be taken down, but for a different reason. He says he supports boycott, divestment, sanctions, or BDS, a Palestinian-led movement aimed at pressuring Israel to change its policies towards Palestinians. Oh, Palestinians? You mean the ones run by Hamas, the terrorist organization? Those Palestinians? The group has made significant gains in recent years, persuading a number of foreign artists to cancel performances in Israel. From what I've heard, from what I understand, I would do it in Israel and not Palestine. I've heard nothing good of Israel. Actually, I've heard this whole thing's political in nature, but was it? It might have actually been NBC. There's somebody in there, like at the Palestinians, like interviewing them, and they were like literally like saying to like kill the Jews and all this stuff, and they had like flags with like Nazi swastikas and shit on there, and they're like praising Hitler. They're like, oh yeah, Hitler did good things. And these are like the Palestinians, like. But I hear on the news that like the Palestinians are on certain news that Palestinians are the ones being oppressed. But from what I've seen, it doesn't look like that. Anyway, Tal said the museum won't bow to religious or political pressures. That's good on them. We will be defending freedom of speech, freedom of art, and freedom of culture, and will not take it down. That's great. It sucks they got attacked. Well, it sucks that, I guess that that whole region, the whole Middle East region seems to be all that, and like all the religions, like I guess Judaism, Christianity, and like Islam has been like warring for like over 1,000 years in that area. It just sucks. But yeah, I'm like for even like, obviously this is like relating it back to America again, but even with like obviously the KKK and white nationalists, like no, I don't agree with them, but they still have the right to say what they say. As long as they're not, I think the thing is, as long as they're not, was it inciting violence or making like physical like threats? Other than that, you can say what you want to. You can be offended if you want to. No one gives a shit if you're offended. I'm getting tired of everybody saying that, oh, that offends me. Like, oh, well, fucking get over it. No one gives a fuck. But what's worse is like all these corporations now, like especially with like Gillette recently, like whatever other ones there are too, are getting on this like PC, like intersectional, like ideological bandwagon. I don't know. It just the thing just rubs me the wrong way. But yeah, that was a quick today in art. I'm trying to. It feels like I say it every time I get on here. I try to. Actually, I got a couple more bookmarked. And whether, I don't know. I could knock out a few today. Then, well, I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, I'll have all my links and everything like listed below where you can find me. Got a little Teespring if you want to do that. Like I was saying before, not really doing Patreon. And I was saying PayPal, but PayPal is getting just as bad too. But from what I've seen from like Sagan of a Card, apparently Subscribestar is back up and going. So I may possibly get on that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. It's a little ranty, freedom of speech, McJesus type video. Like I'm not like religious or super religious. This is the whole thing too. It's like me growing up like back in the 90s, like the Christian conservatives are like trying to regulate like video games and music and all this stuff. I'm like, anytime like, I'm like, no. And even with the whole Gamergate stuff back, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, with the left and like Anidia Sarkeesian and all of them like trying to like regulate games and saying it's super oppressive and all this. I'm like, no, just if you don't like it, then just don't fucking pay attention to it. Anyway, this has been Today in Art. I've said what I said, and drink you some black coffee, do a little bit of intermediate fasting, knock you out some stuff. All right, that's it. I'll catch you later. Bye.